all are aware that the bacterial taxonomy was one of the most dull subject in microorganism. I think around 20 to 30 or maybe around 30 years back, when most of the bacterial taxonomic identification was focused on the biochemical and the physiological methods. And it was quite a tedious, tough task. However, in the 90s, when with the advent of the sequencing technologies, the perception has changed. And since then, our insights into the bacterial taxonomy and phylogeny has also been greatly benefited because of the sequencing. Around in 1970s, polyphagic taxonomy term was arose, which was given by Gladwin. And I have quoted one reference here of 1996 published in Microbiological Reviews saying polyphagic taxonomy, a consensus approach to bacterial systematics. What we need to understand is what this polyphagic taxonomy is. So it aims to integrate the different kind of data and the information on microbes and indicate the consensus type of the taxonomy. So basically, in the polyphasic taxonomy, we are focused on genotypic and the phenotypic informations. So the genotypic information may be arising from DNA that is either using the total DNA or using the segmented DNA in the RNA base sequences, and in the phenotypic information coming from the chemotaxonomic markers, mostly commonly used cellular fatty acid profiling, cell wall compounds, and then in the morphology, physiology, enzymology, and the serology part. So here comes most of the biochemical and physiological methods which we are still currently doing it. So that comes in the phenotypic information. However, as the time progressed, sequence became more approachable to the wider researcher, and there occurred shift in the bacterial taxonomy or the identification mechanism. We can see that there were several flowcharts or taken up by the researcher in the different laboratory. One such flowchart I have just presented here. If you can look closely, then once you isolate a bacteria or the strain you have isolated in your laboratory, you can do the DNA profiling using any of this method, as for example, gel-based methods, using restriction enzymes like RFLP, AFLP, using PCR gene, and then once after that, to avoid the strain duplication, extract it and do the 16S rRNA gene sequencing. Make the phylogeny. If the phylogeny is showing more than 97% sequence similarity, then it can be said to have that particular taxa for the organism. If not, we can go ahead and do the DNA hybridization. And finally, if everything seems to be unique, it could be a new microorganism, or if it is matching with already previous identified species, then we can ascertain the taxonomic nomenclature. However, as I said that with the increase in the genomic sequences, 16S rRNA gene taxonomy often have the conflict with the DNA hybridization data. So what this DNA hybridization data is that you have two genomes from two different organisms, closely related organisms, and then when you are merging or when you are hybridizing it, depending on the percentage of hybridization, you can say that whether the two species are same or two strains are same or it's different. Now, further in the sequencing era, researchers suggested that we can revise the polyphasic approach by taking more insights from the genome and the other omics platform, and of course with the using the phenotypic classifications. So a lot of different approaches, genome-based approaches have been identified and frequently used for microbial taxonomic purpose, mostly bacterial taxonomic purpose. One such example, you can see that ANI, that is average nucleotide identity, and the alignment fraction, such kind of terms, which I will explain just in the next slide, has been emerged. And what it means is that how much nucleotide identity between the two genome of the species or the strain what we are studying is matching. Based on that, you can identify whether the two species are similar or it's two different strains. varies. And then the minimum aligned fraction is the minimum amount of genome which overlap to believe the reported ANI values. So here in this graph, you can see that there are several species, and then these are the percentage of the average nucleotide identity. So if the average nucleotide identity is more than 97% or above 95%, you can be certain of the strain or up to the species level identification. However, as it decreases into 80% or 70%, there are more chances that these two samples are not the same species, and it can lead to understanding the species delineation. So apparently what has happened is that genomic gold standard for prokaryotic species identification became in silico hybridization, DNA hybridization, which you can also talk in terms of computation biology as genome distance calculator, and also average nucleotide identity. So less and less people these days are doing wet lab DNA hybridization, and more we are focusing on in silico DNA hybridization using the genome distance. So uh, this is now becoming a gold standard for the prokaryotic species identification. Different strategies has been advocated. For example, there are identification of bacterial isolates using MALDI-TOF, where the protein the graphs of the protein are visualized in order to understand the species identification. If the and then of course 16s rRNA, a comparison of the several phenotypic and the genotypic characteristics. Now, to make the long story short, what we need to understand and focus is that a number of available genotypic methods are there, which can be used in order to understand the prokaryotic taxonomy or the species identification. For example, if you are doing a culture dependent genotypic method, you can follow this DNA based method by identifying the percentage of the GC content, DNA hybridization, ribotyping or ribosome DNA sequencing, restriction pattern using RFLP or PFG, and then definitely whole genome sequence analysis and all sorts of things. Since this course is all about microbial genome and phylogenetics, I'd like to emphasize current accepted genome and gene-based method used in the identification of microbes, which includes the first and the foremost, 16S rRNA gene phylogeny. Second one is concatenated phylogeny. What it means is that in 16S rRNA gene phylogeny, what you are taking is just one gene, that is 16S rRNA gene. Why we take that 16S rRNA gene, which we will be seeing soon, but then sometime that 16S rRNA gene may not be sufficient to tell you the species delineation. In that case, you may have to concatenate. It means that to combine the information coming from more than one gene. If you can follow this red slabs, you can understand if one gene, two gene, three gene, and four gene. Now, the information which is arising from combining of this four gene, okay, the information which is coming from the four gene can be combined together in order to do the species delineation. So, for example, here it could be 16S, it could be some other conserved genes involved in central pathways like DNA replication, recombination, as for example, RPOD, RPOA, REC-A genes. And then once you are combining all those things, it could lead to a better species delineation phylogeny. Third is core and pan gene phylogenomics. So here it takes the benefit of the whole genome. So core gene and pan gene are the two terms which are used in the phylogenomics. It means that the core portion of the gene. So definitely not all the genes are present in all the organisms. So the set of the genes, the set of the DNA, which is available in across the different taxa which we are studying or across the bacterial domain, that is called as core gene. That is the set of the core gene. And the pan gene, it means that complete genome of that particular organism. So again, as I said, that it is not necessary that all the genes are present in all the organisms. So we take the core gene in all the species or all the taxa which we are studying and makes the phylogenetic. So here we use the whole genome for the phylogenetic purpose. Here in this example, you can see that the whole genome was used to delineate this particular species. Another two parameter which we are studying, which we need to study to understand the species delineation is ortho average nucleotide identity. So it is basically the same, that how much nucleotide similarity is there across the genome in the different taxa what we are studying, different microbial taxa what we are studying. And then genome distance calculator, it is more or less what you can say is as in silico DNA hybridization, where we are not doing a wet lab experiment to cut open the one strand of the genome and hybridize it with the other strand of the genome coming from the another species or another sample. Here what we are doing is aligning the one species, the genome of one species with the genome of the second species. So these are the 4 or 5 different parameters which are based on the gene and the genome method for the phylogenetic purpose of the bacteria. How we can do these all